This book, Make Every Minute Work for You, has been a journey into the art of valuing time, of transforming every fleeting moment into an opportunity, and of reshaping your relationship with life itself. From the very beginning, we have uncovered the truth that time is the most precious currency we own, one that cannot be earned again once it is spent. We explored how discipline is not a cuisine, but a path to freedom, how focus becomes a sharp weapon against distraction, and how planning turns dreams into visible steps. We walked through lessons of persistence, the value of small, consistent actions, and the importance of breaking away from procrastination. We spoke about prioritizing wisely, about knowing when to say no, and about treating every minute as if it were the most important piece of your day. Along the way, we have seen that success is not just about doing more, but about doing what truly matters with the time given to us. And now, as we reach this 15th chapter, it is time to gather all the pieces together and turn understanding into action. Chapter 1: Time is the most precious gift ever given to humanity, and yet it is the most wasted, the most taken for granted, and the least understood. From the moment we open our eyes each morning, we are handed 24 golden hours, a fresh account filled with 60 minutes in each hour and 60 seconds in each minute, and yet most of us behave as though this treasure chest will never empty, as though the account will endlessly refill itself, no matter how carelessly we spend it. But the truth is far harsher. Every tick of the clock is a reminder that time is moving forward, whether you are ready or not, and that once a second is gone, it cannot be bought back, bargained for, or reclaimed, no matter how wealthy, powerful, or desperate you may be. To make every minute work for you is not a slogan, it is a philosophy of living. It is a call to awaken from the sleep of mediocrity and step into the realization that your time is your life, and how you spend it is how you live. Every legend, every achiever, every world changer you admire has been given the same hours in a day that you hold right now, and yet the difference between their story and the countless untold stories of those who wasted away is that they learned early the sacredness of time and the art of guarding, respecting, and multiplying it. Think of the leaders who rose from obscurity to greatness, the inventors who altered the course of history, the writers who penned ideas that shaped nations. They did not receive bonus hours, while the rest of us were stuck with the ordinary 24. They simply chose to treat each moment as if it were infused with possibility, each minute as if it carried the weight of destiny, and each hour as if it could change everything if invested wisely. Time is democratic in that it favors no man, but it is also ruthless, in that it punishes neglect with regret. The person who wastes his minutes today will wake tomorrow with the burden of what could have been, while the person who treasures his minutes will step into tomorrow carrying the fruit of effort, discipline, and progress. Yet most people live as though they have forever, as though their days are limitless and their tomorrows are guaranteed, forgetting that every graveyard is filled with unfulfilled dreams, half-written stories, and ideas that never saw the light because their owners kept saying later, until later never came. To truly make every minute work for you, you must first shift your perception. Minutes are not cheap, they are priceless. Seconds are not small, they are the building blocks of eternity. Imagine holding a bucket filled with water, and every second a drop falls out, slowly, silently, without your permission. At first, it seems like nothing, just a drop, but over time, the bucket empties, and you are left staring at what you once had, unable to refill it. That bucket is your life, and those drops are your minutes. The tragedy is that most people only realize this truth when the bucket is nearly empty, when health declines, when youth fades, when opportunities dry up, and when regrets weigh heavier than dreams. But you, standing at the beginning of awareness, have the power to act differently, to look at your minutes not as things to kill, but as treasures to cultivate. Each minute can be wasted on gossip, idleness, and distraction, or it can be invested in learning, creating, loving, growing, and advancing. The choice is yours, and though it is simple, it is not easy, because the world around you is designed to steal your minutes, to seduce you with noise, to pull you into the endless stream of scrolling, comparing, consuming, and complaining. If you are not vigilant, your minutes will be stolen not by great disasters, but by small distractions, invisible thieves that take your life 1 second at a time. To guard against this theft, you must rise each day with intention, a clear purpose that directs your actions and shields your attention. Ask yourself as you wake, how will I use these minutes today? How will I turn this day into progress rather than waste? For when you begin to think like this, when you see each minute as a tool and not a toy, you will find yourself stepping out of the crowd of sleepers and into the rare company of builders, those who understand that success is not built in years but in minutes well used. Consider the person who wastes 10 minutes in idleness every hour. That is 4 hours a day, 28 hours a week, nearly 15 full days in a year, gone, vanished, stolen by nothing more than neglect. On the other hand, a person who invests just 10 extra minutes every hour into meaningful work, into skill, into growth, will at the end of the year have earned 15 extra days of mastery, progress, and advancement. The difference between mediocrity and excellence is not luck, it is the disciplined use of minutes. If you wish to change your life, do not wait for some grand transformation to arrive in the distant future. Change how you use this minute, right now, and the ripple will extend outward into the hours, the days, the weeks, and the years. Life is nothing more than the accumulation of minutes, so when you waste minutes, you waste life, and when you master minutes, you master life. Therefore, the first step in this journey, the cornerstone of making every minute work for you, is awakening to the fact that you have always held the greatest treasure in your hands, that you have always had the same minutes as the greats of history, that your life is not defined by what you dream of doing someday, but by what you do with this very moment. Time is alive, moving, relentless, and yet it bends to those who honor it, those who rise each morning not with excuses but with purpose. Let this be the chapter where you awaken to that truth, where you no longer say, I have time, but instead declare, I will make time, where you step out of passivity and into responsibility, and where you finally choose to make every minute work for you, because once this minute is gone, it will never return, and the question is not whether you will lose it, but whether you will use it. Chapter 2: Discipline is often misunderstood, feared, and resisted, yet it is the very foundation of freedom, the key that unlocks the door to making every minute work for you. Many people think of discipline as a prison, a cage that limits pleasure and restricts spontaneity, but in truth, it is the opposite. It is the structure that gives you control over your life, instead of letting your life control you. Without discipline, time slips away unnoticed, days blur into weeks, and years vanish while you stand still, caught in the web of excuses and distractions. With discipline, however, every minute becomes purposeful, every action aligns with your goals, and every day pushes you closer to the life you desire. Discipline is not about perfection, nor is it about punishing yourself. It is about training your mind and body to obey your higher purpose instead of your temporary feelings. Think about it. How many times have you promised yourself you would start something tomorrow, only to see tomorrow arrive and pass without action? That is the absence of discipline. How many times have you allowed comfort to overpower commitment, hitting the snooze button instead of rising, scrolling endlessly instead of working, indulging instead of practicing? That is the cost of undisciplined minutes, minutes that once lost can never be returned. Discipline is the force that reverses this cycle. It is the invisible bridge that carries you from intentions to results. It is waking up when you would rather stay in bed, working when you would rather play, saying no when every part of you wants to say yes, and pushing forward when your body and mind whisper to quit. Yet, while it feels heavy in the moment, discipline is the very thing that makes life lighter in the long run. Without discipline, you carry the weight of regret, guilt, and missed opportunities. With discipline, you carry the satisfaction of progress, the joy of growth, and the pride of knowing you are living on purpose. Imagine your time as a river flowing endlessly forward. Without discipline, it floods aimlessly, spilling over rocks, soaking the earth without direction. But with discipline, that river is channeled into power, driving turbines, creating light, and generating energy that changes lives. That is the difference between those who wander and those who achieve. The disciplined have learned to harness the flow of their minutes, to give direction to their time, and to turn fleeting moments into lasting achievements. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build, a muscle that grows with use, a habit that becomes stronger the more you practice it. In the beginning, it feels uncomfortable, even painful, to resist temptation, to stay consistent, to push when everything inside of you begs for ease. But as days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, discipline becomes part of who you are, and the very actions that once felt impossible become effortless. The athlete who trains daily, the writer who writes every morning, the leader who studies before others wake. All of them have moments when they want to give up, but they don't, because discipline keeps them aligned with purpose, not feelings. And this is the lesson for you: your feelings will betray you, but discipline will save you. Your feelings will tell you to quit when you are close to victory, to relax when you should rise, to waste time when you should invest it. Discipline, however, will remind you of your why, of your goals, of the price of wasted minutes, and of the reward waiting on the other side of perseverance. Discipline is not built in giant leaps. It is built in small choices, made over and over again. Every time you choose to act instead of delay, to persist instead of quit, to focus instead of drift, you strengthen the roots of discipline in your life. Over time, these choices compound, just like interest in a bank account, until they produce results far greater than you imagined. The disciplined person may seem ordinary on the outside, but their consistency creates extraordinary outcomes. And here is the most powerful truth: discipline gives you freedom, not limitation. The student disciplined enough to study has the freedom to choose a career. The worker disciplined enough to save has the freedom to invest and grow wealth. The person disciplined in health has the freedom to live with strength and energy. The undisciplined, on the other hand, find themselves trapped by regret, debt, poor health, and wasted years. So the next time you feel discipline holding you back from momentary pleasure, remember, it is pushing you forward toward lasting fulfillment. Every act of discipline you choose is a declaration that you value your minutes, that you refuse to waste the only resource you can never recover. Discipline is the ultimate time management tool because it transforms "I should" into "I did," and it turns dreams into realities. Without it, the finest plans remain ink on paper, and the greatest visions fade into nothingness. With it, every plan becomes possible, and every vision finds its path. As you move forward on this journey of making every minute work for you, embrace discipline not as an enemy but as an ally, not as a punishment but as a promise. The promise that your time will not be wasted, that your life will not be squandered, and that your story will be one of action rather than excuses. Let discipline be the compass that guides you when distractions surround you, the shield that protects you when temptations attack you, and the voice that whispers, "Keep going," when your feelings scream, "Give up." In the end, discipline is not about denying yourself joy, but about delaying lesser joys for greater ones, trading the comfort of the moment for the triumph of a lifetime. Discipline is the difference between those who dream and those who achieve, between those who waste their minutes and those who make every minute work for them. And if you dare to choose it, to practice it, to live it, you will find that discipline is not chains around your life. It is wings that let you soar. Chapter 3. Focus is the sharp sword that cuts through the endless jungle of distractions, the weapon that separates those who wander aimlessly from those who carve paths of purpose, and the discipline that ensures every minute you live is aligned with what truly matters. In today's world, distraction has become the silent thief of time. It creeps into your life through every glowing screen, every unnecessary notification, every shallow conversation, and every temptation to drift into ease instead of committing to effort. You may think you are in control, but if your attention is scattered, your minutes are being stolen without your permission. And once gone, they are gone forever. Focus is the art of reclaiming your minutes, of choosing what deserves your attention and what does not, of silencing the noise so you can hear the call of your true goals. Without focus, discipline fades, productivity shatters, and dreams remain dreams because energy without direction is wasted energy. Imagine a beam of sunlight spread across a field. It warms but changes nothing. But when concentrated through a magnifying glass, that same light becomes fire strong enough to ignite. Your mind works the same way. Scattered thoughts create little impact, but concentrated focus turns even the smallest action into extraordinary progress. Focus is not just about doing more. It is about doing what matters most, doing it deeply, and doing it without being pulled away by the shallow waves of distraction. Most people fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they never learn to master their focus. They start many things but finish few, chase countless goals but achieve none, and live busy lives that leave them exhausted but unfulfilled. To make every minute work for you, you must learn the sacred skill of focus, the ability to give your mind, your energy, and your time fully to the task that aligns with your purpose. Focus is hard because distractions are easy. Focus requires effort because the world is designed to steal it from you. Every app, every advertisement, every piece of noise around you is crafted to capture your attention, to trap your minutes, to make you serve someone else's goals instead of your own. If you are not intentional, your life will become a collection of interruptions rather than a masterpiece of purpose. But when you choose focus, you reclaim your life. It begins with small decisions. Closing the door when you need to work, silencing the phone when you need to think, saying no to things that do not matter so you can say yes to things that do. Focus is a filter, and through it, you must separate the vital from the trivial, the meaningful from the meaningless. The truth is that you cannot do everything, and you should not try, because scattered effort produces scattered results. But you can do the most important things, and by focusing deeply on them, you create results that ripple across every area of your life. Focus does not just make you productive, it makes you powerful. It teaches you that your mind is not meant to serve 10 masters at once, but to commit fully to one worthy pursuit at a time. When you are focused, hours feel like minutes, because you are immersed in the flow of purpose. And when you are distracted, minutes feel like hours because your soul is restless and unfocused. Focus is also about presence, about living fully in the moment you are in instead of scattering your mind between past regrets and future worries. Too many people waste their minutes replaying what has already passed or rehearsing what may never come, but focus anchors you in the present, reminding you that the only time you can act, change, or build is now. To develop focus, you must train it like a muscle, resisting distraction, practicing presence, and sharpening your mind on the stone of discipline. In the beginning, it feels difficult. Your thoughts wander, your habits pull you away, your impulses fight back. But with practice, focus grows stronger until it becomes natural, even effortless. Focus is also about clarity, because you cannot focus on what you do not truly want. If your goals are vague, your attention will be scattered. But if your goals are clear, your attention will find its home. Clarity is the compass, focus is the engine, and together they turn time into achievement. History remembers not those who did many things poorly, but those who did a few things greatly, those who mastered the power of focus and made their minutes serve their mission. Think of the scientist who spends years on a single experiment, the artist who pours his soul into a single canvas, the entrepreneur who builds one idea into a global legacy. All of them chose focus over distraction, depth over shallowness, purpose over noise. And this is your calling too. If you wish to make every minute work for you, you must guard your focus like treasure, protect it like your life depends on it, because in truth it does. Every wasted focus is wasted life, and every sharpened focus is sharpened destiny. Your minutes are precious, but without focus, they scatter like seeds in the wind, never taking root, never growing into anything meaningful. With focus, those same minutes become seeds planted in fertile soil, nurtured until they bloom into greatness. Let this be the chapter where you decide to stop living distracted, where you silence the thieves of your time, where you gather your scattered energy and channel it fully into the pursuit that matters most. For in the end, focus is not just about working harder, it is about working wiser, living deeper, and ensuring that every minute you spend is a step forward, not a step wasted. Focus is the difference between noise and music, between chaos and clarity, between a life lived randomly and a life lived intentionally. And if you master it, you will hold in your hands the power to make every minute truly work for you. Chapter 4: Planning is the invisible map that turns vague wishes into clear direction, the compass that ensures your minutes are not wasted wandering in circles, but invested in meaningful progress, and the tool that transforms the chaos of life into a structured path toward achievement. Without planning, even the hardest work may lead nowhere, because effort without direction is like a ship sailing with no destination. It moves but never arrives. With planning, however, every action has purpose, every day has intention, and every minute becomes a step toward the vision you hold in your heart. People often say they want success, they want growth, they want a better life, yet when asked about their plan, they grow silent because they have confused desire with direction. A desire without a plan is only a dream, but a desire with a plan becomes a goal, and a goal with consistent action becomes reality. Planning is not about controlling every detail of the future, because life is unpredictable and full of surprises, but it is about giving yourself a roadmap so that even when storms come, you know how to adjust and still move toward your purpose. Imagine two builders. One wakes up and starts piling bricks randomly, hoping that somehow a house will appear. The other wakes up with a blueprint, laying each brick in order, knowing where the walls will stand and where the doors will open. Both are working, both are spending minutes, but only one will ever see a house rise from his labor, and that is the power of planning. Your minutes are like those bricks. Without a plan, they scatter in piles of wasted effort, but with a plan, they stack into a life of design. Planning is not difficult, yet it requires commitment. It begins with clarity, asking yourself, what do I truly want? Where am I trying to go? What matters most to me? Once you know this, you can break it down into steps, and suddenly the impossible looks possible, the overwhelming feels manageable, and the distant future feels reachable. A plan takes a mountain and divides it into steps you can climb. But here is the secret. Planning is worthless if it remains only on paper. A plan must be lived, acted upon, adjusted when necessary, and pursued with discipline. Too many people create plans, but never follow them. They love the feeling of writing goals, but they lack the consistency to execute them. A plan is only as strong as the actions it inspires. And yet, even imperfect plans are better than none at all, because they give you a sense of direction, a filter for your decisions, and a framework for your minutes. When you have a plan, you do not wake up asking, "What should I do today?" You already know, because yesterday you set the path. This prevents wasted time, prevents distractions from ruling you, and prevents the feeling of being busy but unproductive. Planning also saves you from regret, because it ensures that the minutes of your life are invested in what you value most. Consider how many people spend years climbing a ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. This is the result of action without planning, of living without alignment. Planning is the step that ensures your ladder is placed on the right wall before you begin to climb. But do not confuse planning with rigidity. Plans should guide you, not chain you. Life will always bring surprises, obstacles, and detours, and you must adapt. But when you have a plan, adaptation does not mean drifting. It means adjusting while still moving toward your goal. Think of a pilot flying a plane. Storms may force him to change altitude, winds may push him slightly off course, but because he has a flight plan, he always knows how to correct and eventually land where he intended. Without the plan, he would be lost in the sky, moving but never arriving. And so it is with your minutes. When you plan, you know where you are going, and even when life forces you to shift, you never lose sight of the destination. Planning also builds confidence, because uncertainty breeds anxiety, but clarity brings peace. When you know what your day holds, you wake with purpose instead of dread, with confidence instead of confusion. Your minutes feel meaningful because you know why you are spending them and what they are creating. Planning does not eliminate hard work, but it makes hard work smarter, and it ensures that every ounce of energy contributes to something that matters. And here is the greatest truth. Planning is an act of respect for your time. It is the way you tell yourself, my minutes are valuable, too valuable to waste on randomness, too precious to be scattered without care. When you plan, you are not controlling time. You are honoring it, shaping it, directing it so it builds the life you want, instead of leaving you with the life that simply happens. The tragedy is that most people spend more time planning a vacation than planning their life, more time organizing their closet than organizing their future, and so their minutes are stolen by randomness rather than guided by purpose. Do not let this be your story. Begin each week by asking what matters most, begin each day by setting a path, and end each night by reflecting on whether your minutes were used in alignment with your goals. Over time, these small acts of planning will transform your life, because minutes aligned with vision compound into weeks of progress, months of growth, and years of fulfillment. Planning does not guarantee success, but it guarantees movement, and movement guided by clarity is always better than motion without direction. So let this be the chapter where you decide to no longer live by chance, no longer drift with the current of distraction, but to live with intention, to plan with purpose, and to guide your minutes toward meaning. For without planning, time becomes a thief. With planning, time becomes your ally. Every plan you make is a seed, every action you take waters it, and every disciplined minute grows it into a harvest of success. Planning is not about predicting the future. It is about preparing for it, about making sure that when opportunity knocks, you are ready, when challenges strike, you are steady, and when your life is measured, it tells the story you intended to write. Make your minutes serve you through planning, and you will discover that what once felt impossible was always within reach. It only needed a map. Chapter 5: Procrastination is the silent assassin of dreams, the invisible thief of minutes, and the comfortable trap that keeps countless people stuck in a cycle of delay, regret, and wasted potential. And unless you learn to conquer it, you will never truly make every minute work for you. Procrastination disguises itself as harmless. It whispers to you that you can start tomorrow, that today you deserve rest, that the task can wait until conditions are better, until you feel ready, until you have more energy, until the time feels right. But the truth is that there is no perfect time, and every delay is a decision, whether you admit it or not, because when you postpone action, you are actively choosing to trade progress for stagnation. to trade the possibility of accomplishment for the comfort of avoidance. The tragedy of procrastination is not only that it wastes minutes, but that it creates the illusion of endless tomorrows, while in reality, tomorrow is never guaranteed, and the longer you wait, the heavier the weight of delay becomes. A task delayed once becomes harder the second time, heavier the third, and nearly unbearable the fourth, because procrastination feeds itself like a fire, growing stronger every time you give in to it. And yet, even though it is powerful, procrastination is also fragile because it can be defeated by a single decision to act, by the courage to begin, even if imperfectly, even if unprepared. The cure for procrastination is action, small, immediate, decisive action that cuts through the fog of hesitation and builds momentum. Think of a boulder sitting at the top of a hill. To move it feels impossible at first, but with one push, then another, it begins to roll, and soon its own weight carries it forward. Procrastination is defeated the same way, by pushing past the inertia of waiting and choosing to start now. The irony is that most of the things we procrastinate on are never as hard, as painful, or as overwhelming as we imagine them to be. It is the act of delaying that magnifies their weight, while starting shrinks them back to size. But procrastination is not only about tasks, it is about life. Because the same way people delay a project, they delay dreams, they delay health, they delay relationships, they delay growth, telling themselves that one day they will write the book, start the business, learn the skill, mend the friendship, change the habit. Yet one day never comes, and they reach the end of their lives carrying the grief of what was never even attempted. Procrastination does not just waste minutes, it steals futures. To overcome it, you must first recognize it for what it is, not a harmless delay, but a dangerous enemy. Once you see it clearly, you can begin to fight it with weapons of awareness and strategy. One such weapon is breaking tasks into smaller steps, because often procrastination thrives on overwhelm. When something feels too big, we push it away, but when it is divided into manageable pieces, we find it easier to begin. Another weapon is creating deadlines, because procrastination loves open-ended time. If you give yourself forever, you will take forever. But if you shorten the timeline, urgency pushes you to act. Accountability is also powerful, because when you tell someone your goal, when you commit publicly, procrastination loses some of its grip, since the pressure of letting others down adds fuel to your action. Yet, perhaps the most powerful weapon against procrastination is remembering the price of delay, truly feeling the cost of wasted time, imagining the regret of a life where minutes were squandered instead of invested. When you understand that every delay today becomes a loss tomorrow, you awaken to the urgency of now. And here is the deeper truth. Procrastination is not about laziness. It is about fear, fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of imperfection, fear of not being good enough. We procrastinate not because the task is impossible, but because starting forces us to face our vulnerability. But greatness is never born from waiting for confidence. It is born from beginning despite fear, from starting even when you are unsure, from stepping forward even when the ground beneath you trembles. Every person you admire has fought procrastination. Every leader, every creator, every achiever has felt the urge to delay, but they chose differently. They chose action over avoidance, progress over perfection, now over later. And so must you, if you want your minutes to matter. Ask yourself, how many times have you let procrastination steal not just an hour, but a week, a month, even years of your life? How many dreams remain unfinished because of the lie of tomorrow? How many opportunities slipped through your hands because you waited until it was too late? The good news is that no matter how much time procrastination has already stolen, you can reclaim the minutes ahead by refusing to give it another second. The decision to act now, even in small ways, is the decision to break its chains. And here is the secret gift hidden in defeating procrastination: action, not only creates progress, it creates energy, motivation, and clarity. The very act of beginning ignites momentum, and momentum is the antidote to hesitation. What once felt impossible simply because you chose to start. Let this chapter be your wake-up call, your turning point, the moment you decide that tomorrow will no longer be your answer, because tomorrow is not promised. But today is alive, and this minute is waiting to be claimed. Do not let procrastination write the story of your life. Let action write it instead. For in the end, procrastination is not defeated in thought, but in choice, and the only choice that matters is this one: will you act now, or will you wait and watch your minutes vanish into regret? Chapter 6. Focus is the bridge between intention and achievement, the invisible lens that magnifies effort into results, and without it, no amount of time management or planning will ever yield the life you dream of, because scattered attention is like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. No matter how much you pour in, it will always leak out. Focus is not just about working harder, it is about working deeper, about resisting the constant pull of distraction and training your mind to stay present with what truly matters. Because every time you switch tasks, every time you chase noise, every time you allow your attention to scatter, you lose precious energy and momentum that could have been invested into progress. In today's world, focus is under attack more than ever before, assaulted by buzzing notifications, endless scrolling, constant interruptions, and the addictive lure of instant gratification. And this is why those who master focus become unstoppable, because they are able to do in 1 hour what others struggle to do in 3. Focus is not about perfection, but about choice. Choosing to direct your attention where it counts, choosing to shut out the noise long enough for depth to emerge, choosing to value long-term rewards over short-term temptations. When you focus deeply, you enter a state where minutes stretch, where creativity flows, where tasks once overwhelming become manageable, and where the best version of you shows up. Yet focus is not a natural gift. It is a skill that must be built, strengthened, and protected. It begins with clarity, because you cannot focus on everything, and those who try end up focusing on nothing. You must decide what matters most, identify your highest priorities, and guard them fiercely, for clarity gives direction and direction gives energy. Imagine a magnifying glass. When held steady under the sun, its rays ignite fire, but when constantly moved around, its energy disperses without effect. Your mind works the same way. When you hold it steady on one goal, one task, one moment, it has the power to set your life ablaze with progress. But when it jumps from one thing to another, it never gathers enough intensity to create results. Focus also requires boundaries, because the world will not protect your attention. You must. This means learning to say no, learning to silence distractions, learning to create spaces where your concentration is sacred. It means turning off notifications, closing unnecessary tabs, setting specific times for communication, and letting others know when you are unavailable. Because focus is fragile, and even small interruptions can shatter it. Studies show it can take over 20 minutes to regain deep focus after a single distraction, which means that if you allow constant interruptions, you are surrendering hours of your life without even realizing it. But the greatest focus does not come from the outside world. It comes from within, from the restless mind that seeks escape, from the fear that makes you jump to easier tasks, from the lack of discipline that chooses comfort over challenge. To strengthen focus, you must train yourself to sit with discomfort, to resist the urge to flee when a task feels difficult, to push through the boredom that often comes just before a breakthrough. Focus grows when you stretch it, when you practice being present for longer periods, when you build endurance like a muscle. One way to do this is through deliberate work cycles where you commit to full concentration for a set time, say 25 or 50 minutes, before allowing yourself a short rest. Over time, your capacity expands, and what once felt impossible becomes natural. Another way is through mindfulness, training yourself to notice when your mind wanders and gently bringing it back, again and again, until returning to the present becomes second nature. Focus also thrives on energy, and you cannot expect to concentrate deeply if you neglect your body. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, and rest all fuel your ability to sustain attention. A tired mind is a distracted mind, and one of the most powerful time management strategies is simply taking care of your physical health. Yet even with all these tools, the deepest key to focus is meaning, because the mind naturally resists what feels pointless and leans toward what feels purposeful. When your work is connected to your values, when your goals are tied to your vision, when your tasks are aligned with who you want to become, focus becomes less of a battle and more of a flow, because your heart pulls you into the work. This is why it is so important to connect daily actions with long-term dreams, to remind yourself why you are doing what you are doing, because meaning creates motivation and motivation fuels focus. Ask yourself often, is what I am focusing on right now moving me closer to the life I want? If the answer is yes, stay with it. If the answer is no, shift your attention without delay. Focus is about living deliberately instead of drifting, about choosing your moments instead of wasting them, about mastering the art of presence in a world built on distraction. And here is the paradox: the more you train your focus, the freer you feel, because instead of being pulled in 100 directions, you are guided by clarity, and clarity is liberation. Chapter 6 is your call to reclaim your attention, to become the guardian of your concentration, to treat focus not as a luxury, but as a necessity, because without it, your minutes will scatter into nothingness, but with it, each minute becomes a building block of greatness. Remember this: you cannot control how much time you are given in this life, but you can control how deeply you use the time you have, and the power of focus is what transforms hours into achievements and days into legacy. Guard it, train it, protect it, and let it become your secret weapon in making every minute work for you. Chapter 7: Discipline is the silent architect of every meaningful achievement, the invisible force that shapes character, sustains effort, and builds bridges between desire and reality. For without discipline, even the best plans remain unfulfilled dreams, and even the brightest potential fades into wasted possibility. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment, as restriction, as something heavy that chains you down, but in truth, it is the opposite. It is freedom, it is power, it is the ability to live by choice instead of impulse, to build a life guided by intention rather than reaction. To understand discipline, you must see it not as an enemy, but as an ally, the constant companion that pushes you forward when motivation runs dry. Because motivation is a spark, fleeting and unpredictable, while discipline is the steady flame that burns even in the storm. Discipline is waking up when you said you would. It is choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. It is saying no to distractions when every part of you wants the comfort of escape. And it is following through not because you feel like it, but because you gave your word to yourself. When you lack discipline, your minutes are stolen by laziness, procrastination, and inconsistency, but when you cultivate discipline, every minute is invested into building something that lasts. Discipline is the foundation of mastery. No athlete becomes great without endless hours of practice. No musician creates beauty without repetition. No thinker sharpens his mind without the patience of study, and no life becomes significant without the daily habits that discipline sustains. Yet discipline does not arrive fully formed. It is built slowly, brick by brick, decision by decision, habit by habit. Every time you choose to follow through, even in small matters, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken it. Discipline is like a muscle. It grows with use and atrophies with neglect, and the more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes until it becomes your natural state of living. Many people wait for willpower to appear, hoping that one day they will magically feel strong enough to act. But the truth is that waiting for willpower is a trap, because willpower is inconsistent, but discipline is built on systems, on routines, on structures that carry you forward even when you are tired. Discipline is creating an environment that supports your goals, placing healthy food within reach, setting clear times for work, surrounding yourself with people who encourage growth, and removing temptations that weaken resolve. Discipline is also about consistency, about showing up day after day, even when results are not yet visible, because greatness is not built in a single leap, but in thousands of small steps taken faithfully. Think of water dripping on stone. One drop seems powerless, but over time, persistence carves valleys. So it is with discipline. Your daily actions may seem small, but together they carve the destiny of your life. The challenge of discipline is that it often feels uncomfortable. It asks you to go against the pull of ease, to rise early when your body craves sleep, to focus when your mind craves distraction, to save when your desires crave spending. But it is precisely in that discomfort that growth is found, because discipline trains you to master yourself, and self-mastery is the key to freedom. Without discipline, you become a slave to moods, habits, and circumstances, tossed around by life like a leaf in the wind. But with discipline, you hold the reins, guiding your path with clarity and strength. Discipline also demands patience, because it rarely delivers immediate rewards. It asks you to delay gratification, to trust in the process, to endure the waiting. But those who endure find that the harvest is always worth the sowing. Discipline is not about perfection, for no one follows through flawlessly. It is about persistence, about standing back up after failure, about recommitting after slipping, about refusing to let one mistake undo all progress. Discipline is also deeply connected to self-respect. For every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your trust in your own word. But every time you break that promise, you teach yourself not to believe in you. And this is why disciplined people walk with quiet confidence. They know they can rely on themselves. Discipline is not glamorous. It is often quiet, unseen, and uncelebrated, yet it is the soil from which every visible success grows. It is the hours no one witnesses, the sacrifices no one praises, the consistency no one claps for, but when the results appear, the world calls it talent or luck, forgetting that what really created it was discipline. Discipline is also contagious. When you live with discipline, others around you are inspired. They see the standard you set, and it raises their own. To build discipline, begin small, wake up at a set time, commit to a short daily task, create a simple routine, and guard it fiercely. As you succeed in small things, your capacity for bigger challenges grows. Discipline does not demand perfection from the start. It demands honesty, commitment, and perseverance. It asks you to take responsibility for your choices, to stop blaming circumstances, to recognize that while you cannot control everything in life, you can always control your actions, your effort, your consistency. Discipline is the bridge that carries you across the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And though the journey may be demanding, every step makes you stronger. Chapter 7 is your reminder that if you want to make every minute work for you, discipline cannot be optional. It must be your foundation, your compass, your silent strength. Let discipline become your ally, and you will find that minutes once wasted now become moments of progress, that days once scattered now become steps forward, and that a life once drifting now becomes a life of purpose, power, and achievement. Chapter 8, Focus, is the art of giving your full attention to one thing at a time, of silencing the noise of the world, and directing your energy like a laser toward the task that truly matters, because scattered attention creates scattered results, but concentrated attention creates power, momentum, and mastery. Focus is the difference between drifting aimlessly and moving purposefully, between being busy and being effective, between living reactively and living intentionally. In today's world of constant notifications, endless entertainment, and distractions pulling us from every direction, focus has become not just a skill, but a superpower, one that separates those who achieve from those who only dream. Focus means training your mind to resist the lure of instant gratification, to resist the temptation of multitasking, and to remain steady even when your environment demands your attention in 100 different ways. When you lack focus, your minutes dissolve into wasted fragments. 5 minutes scrolling here, 10 minutes talking there, 15 minutes worrying, and before you know it, your day has vanished without progress. But when you cultivate focus, each minute becomes magnified. What might take hours of half-hearted effort can be accomplished in minutes of undistracted attention. Focus is not about doing everything, it is about doing the right thing with intensity, and this is where many people fail. They believe success is about filling every moment with endless activity, when in truth, success is about filling the moment with the one action that drives the most growth. Focus begins with clarity, because you cannot give your attention to what you have not clearly defined. You must ask yourself daily what truly matters right now. Which task will move me closer to my goals? Which activity deserves my best energy? Without this clarity, you fall into the trap of urgency over importance, responding to emails, messages, and demands that seem pressing but contribute little to your deeper purpose. Focus also requires discipline, because even when you know what matters, your mind will wander, your impulses will pull you, and only discipline will call you back to the path. Imagine your mind as a wild horse. Focus is the reins that guide it, discipline is the strength that holds it steady, and purpose is the destination that gives it direction. The more you train focus, the sharper it becomes, and the less energy you waste switching between tasks. Science has shown that every time you switch tasks, your brain pays a cost, needing time to adjust, to reload, to reorient, and if you live in constant switching, your productivity bleeds away through invisible cracks. But when you focus deeply on one thing at a time, you enter what is called flow, a state where time seems to disappear, where effort feels natural, where creativity and efficiency surge. Flow is the reward of focus, and those who master it achieve in hours what others struggle to complete in days. Focus also requires you to guard your environment, to create spaces that nurture attention rather than destroy it. If your phone constantly beeps, if your desk is cluttered, if your surroundings invite distraction, then focus will always slip away. But if you design your environment with intention, clearing clutter, silencing notifications, setting boundaries, then focus becomes natural because your mind reflects the space around you. Focus is also about energy, for even the sharpest mind cannot sustain attention if the body is tired, undernourished, or restless. Sleep, exercise, and rest are not luxuries, they are fuel for focus, and without them, your minutes weaken. Focus is a choice you make each moment, to turn away from what does not matter, to turn toward what does, and to give it your undivided presence. To build focus, start small, choose one task, set a timer, and give yourself fully to it until the timer ends. Train yourself to stay present, and slowly your capacity will grow until focus becomes second nature. Focus is also about saying no, because you cannot concentrate on what matters if you keep saying yes to everything else. Every yes to a distraction is a no to your purpose, and every no to a distraction is a yes to your growth. Focus is not rigid, it allows for flexibility, for rest, for shifts in direction, but it does not allow for aimless drifting. It is intentional, it is conscious, it is deliberate. Focus is not about being busy every second, it is about being present in every second, so that when you work, you truly work, when you rest, you truly rest, when you listen, you truly listen, and when you live, you are truly alive. Focus makes every minute count because it transforms quantity into quality. 1 hour of deep focus can equal 10 hours of distraction-filled effort, And this truth is what separates the productive from the overwhelmed. Chapter 8 is your reminder that if you want to make every minute work for you, you must protect your focus as fiercely as a treasure, because it is the treasure. It is the force that multiplies your minutes, that magnifies your efforts, and that carries you steadily toward the life you want to build. Train your focus, guard your focus, live with focus, and you will discover that your minutes are not slipping away. They are building a legacy. Chapter 9: Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement, between desire and reality, between dreaming of a better life and actually building one, because without discipline, even the most brilliant plans remain only words, and even the greatest ambitions fade into regret. Discipline is not punishment, as many people falsely believe. It is freedom, it is structure, it is the choice to do what is necessary even when it is not easy, because true discipline allows you to control your actions instead of letting your impulses control you. When you master discipline, every minute begins to work for you, because you no longer drift at the mercy of mood, distraction, or laziness, but instead move forward with steady steps, creating consistency that compounds into results. Many people start their journeys with excitement and passion, but they lack the endurance to keep going when enthusiasm fades. And this is where discipline takes over. Discipline is what keeps you writing when inspiration is gone, working when energy is low, learning when the mind resists, and practicing when progress feels invisible. Discipline is the fuel of mastery, because no skill, no career, no dream is built overnight. They are all shaped through repeated effort, through daily habits, through the willingness to push forward again and again. The greatest musicians practice scales for hours. The finest athletes train daily even when their bodies ache. The most successful thinkers read, write, and refine their craft relentlessly, and none of them rely only on passion. They rely on discipline, because discipline is stronger than emotion, steadier than desire, and more reliable than motivation. Motivation is like a spark. It comes and goes, it flares and fades. But discipline is the firewood, the steady flame that continues burning no matter the weather. Discipline is built by small choices repeated daily: waking up on time, finishing what you start, resisting temptations that waste your hours, and following through even when no one is watching. Each small act of discipline is like a brick, and over time, those bricks build the foundation of a strong life. Yet discipline also requires vision, because without a clear purpose, discipline becomes rigid and joyless, like following rules without meaning. But when discipline is connected to your goals, it becomes empowering, because every disciplined act feels like a step toward something greater. To cultivate discipline, you must train your mind like a muscle, beginning with small commitments and expanding gradually, because trying to change everything at once often leads to failure. Start by controlling your mornings, because the way you begin your day shapes the rest of it. Build routines that anchor you, habits that support you, and rituals that remind you of your values. Remove temptations from your environment, because discipline is not only about willpower, but also about design. If you surround yourself with distractions, your willpower will eventually collapse. But if you design your space for focus, discipline flows naturally. Discipline also means honoring your word, keeping promises to yourself, because each time you break a promise, you weaken your self-trust. But each time you keep one, you strengthen your confidence and your sense of control. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence, about returning to the path when you slip, about refusing to let one failure become a permanent excuse. Life will always test your discipline, with tiredness, with temptations, with delays. But discipline is the choice to rise again, to move again, to continue again. Discipline is also the root of freedom, because when you discipline your body, your mind, your habits, you create space for freedom in the future. Financial freedom through disciplined saving, physical freedom through disciplined health, Emotional freedom through disciplined thought. Those who avoid discipline in the present often pay the price in the future, trapped by debt, illness, regret, or wasted time. But those who embrace discipline in the present reap the rewards of a life lived with intention. Discipline sharpens every minute, making it count, because when you live without discipline, time slips through your fingers, wasted on indulgence and delay. But when you live with discipline, time becomes a tool in your hands, used to build, to grow, to create. The disciplined person is not chained. The disciplined person is liberated, because they know they are not a slave to their impulses, but the master of their actions. Discipline is the foundation of trust, of leadership, of progress, and of legacy, because people follow those who live by discipline, respect those who honor discipline, and admire those who achieve through discipline. Chapter 9 is your reminder that discipline is not optional if you want to make every minute work for you. It is the heart of progress, the guardrail that keeps you on the road, the steady drumbeat that carries you through the noise of life. To live with discipline is to live with power, because no matter what storms come, no matter what distractions rise, you will always have the strength to continue, to persist, and to win, one disciplined minute at a time. Chapter 10. Resilience is the strength to rise every time you fall, the courage to keep moving when the road feels endless, and the determination to transform setbacks into stepping stones, because no journey of success is free from obstacles, no life is free from challenges, and no dream is free from tests. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship, it is about facing it, enduring it, and learning from it, because the truth is that life will knock you down, often when you least expect it, and only resilience will decide whether you stay down or rise stronger. Resilience is the shield that protects your minutes from being wasted in despair, self-pity, or hopelessness, because when you are resilient, you use even the hardest moments as fuel for growth rather than reasons to quit. Many people believe that success belongs to the most talented or the most intelligent, but in reality, success often belongs to the most resilient, the ones who refuse to stop, who adapt, who persist, and who keep going long after others have given up. Resilience is built not in comfort but in challenge, not in ease but in struggle, because it is in the storms of life that we discover our inner strength, and it is through setbacks that we develop endurance. When you face difficulties, you are given a choice to see them as walls that block you or as mountains that strengthen you when you climb them. Every obstacle carries within it an opportunity to grow, to sharpen your character, to refine your strategies, and to deepen your wisdom. Resilience requires perspective, the ability to step back and see the bigger picture, because often we mistake temporary pain for permanent defeat, when in truth, most difficulties are only chapters, not the whole book of our lives. To cultivate resilience, you must train your mind to accept that failure is not the opposite of success, but part of it, that mistakes are not signs of weakness but lessons of growth, and that challenges are not punishments, but invitations to rise higher. Resilience also requires flexibility, because life does not always unfold the way you planned, and the rigid mind often breaks under pressure. But the flexible mind bends, adapts, and finds new paths when old ones are blocked. Resilience is not about pretending to be unhurt. It is about acknowledging the pain, yet choosing to move forward anyway, because courage is not the absence of fear or hurt, but the decision to act despite them. Resilience also thrives on hope, the belief that tomorrow can be better than today, because without hope, persistence fades, but with hope, you find the strength to keep climbing even when the summit is hidden in clouds. Resilience demands patience, because growth takes time, healing takes time, success takes time, and resilience teaches you to keep walking one step at a time, trusting that every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. Resilience is also strengthened by gratitude, because when you focus on what you still have instead of what you have lost, you find the energy to rebuild. And when you appreciate the lessons hidden in your struggles, you transform pain into wisdom. Resilience is contagious. When you live with resilience, you inspire others to endure, to rise, to fight, and to keep believing in their own strength. And in this way, your resilience becomes a gift not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. To build resilience, you must practice self-care, because a weary body, a neglected mind, and an empty spirit cannot withstand the storms for long. Rest, reflection, and renewal are not signs of weakness, but acts of preparation, ensuring you have the energy to continue. Resilience also requires you to surround yourself with supportive voices, people who lift you up when you fall, who remind you of your strength when you forget it, and who walk with you when the road feels lonely, because no one is meant to be resilient alone. But resilience also means being your own supporter, your own encourager, your own coach, because there will be moments when no one else is there to push you, and in those moments, your inner voice must remind you to rise. Resilience is the art of turning trials into teachers, pain into power, and minutes of suffering into minutes of preparation, because the struggle you face today might be the very strength you need tomorrow. Resilience makes every minute work for you, because even the minutes that seem wasted in hardship are not wasted at all. They are shaping your endurance, forging your character, and preparing you for the victories ahead. Chapter 10 is your reminder that the road of life is not smooth, but you are stronger than the bumps, tougher than the storms, and greater than the failures. And if you choose resilience, every setback becomes a setup for a comeback, and every minute, no matter how dark, becomes part of the light that leads you to your destiny. Chapter 11, Time Management, is the cornerstone of a productive and fulfilled life, the skill that transforms ordinary minutes into extraordinary outcomes, and the discipline that separates those who drift through life from those who move with purpose. Because time is the one resource that is equal for everyone, yet how it is used determines the difference between success and regret. Managing your time effectively does not mean filling every second with business, but rather ensuring that every action aligns with your priorities, that every decision moves you closer to your goals, and that every effort compounds toward meaningful results. Time management begins with awareness, recognizing how you currently spend your minutes, understanding which activities generate value and which steal it away, and identifying the moments when your energy is highest for the most important tasks. Most people fall into the trap of reacting to demands, answering emails, responding to notifications, and allowing others' priorities to dictate their day. Yet the most successful individuals master the art of controlling their schedules, deciding in advance where their focus will be, and protecting their hours like a treasure. Effective time management requires planning, because a day without structure is like a ship without a rudder, subject to the whims of the wind and current, and even small amounts of time can be wasted if not consciously directed. Planning your day, prioritizing tasks, and scheduling work in blocks allows you to harness the power of deep focus, complete high-impact tasks, and avoid the energy drain of constant multitasking. Time management also demands the courage to say no, because every yes to something unimportant is a no to something essential, and protecting your time requires both boundaries and assertiveness. Delegation is another critical component, because you cannot do everything alone, and learning to entrust others with tasks frees your minutes for work that only you can accomplish. Time management is not about rigid control, but about intentionality. It is the ability to navigate your life with purpose, making conscious choices about where your attention and effort go. Tools like to-do lists, calendars, and timers are helpful, but the true power of time management lies in self-discipline, in resisting the pull of distractions, in following through on plans, and in being fully present in the task at hand. Time management also involves flexibility, because life is unpredictable, and the unexpected will always arise, Yet those who manage time effectively adjust without losing sight of their priorities, maintaining momentum even when circumstances change. The key to managing time well is recognizing that not all minutes are equal. Some are high-energy periods perfect for creative or critical work, while others are better suited for routine or reflective tasks, and aligning your schedule accordingly. Awareness of your natural rhythms allows you to maximize productivity and avoid burnout. Time management also requires reflection, evaluating how your hours were spent, identifying inefficiencies, and continuously improving your approach, because without reflection, wasted time becomes habitual and progress slows. The practice of time management is not about eliminating rest or enjoyment, but about ensuring that your free time is purposeful, restorative, and aligned with your long-term goals, because even leisure can become meaningful when chosen intentionally. Procrastination is the enemy of time management, as every delayed task steals hours and creates unnecessary stress. Yet by committing to start, breaking work into manageable pieces, and focusing fully, you can reclaim control of your minutes. Time management teaches patience, because true productivity is not about rushing through tasks, but about completing them with quality and attention, understanding that effective use of time is a marathon, not a sprint. Chapter 11 reminds you that time is your most precious asset, that once it is gone, it can never be regained, and that by learning to manage it wisely, you give yourself the power to create a life of achievement, satisfaction, and purpose. Every minute you invest intentionally compounds, while every minute wasted subtracts from your potential, and the choice of how you use your time lies entirely in your hands. Time management is the framework that makes all other skills, including focus, discipline, planning, and resilience, more powerful, because without it, even the strongest abilities cannot produce lasting results. By mastering your minutes, you master your life, transforming ordinary days into extraordinary outcomes and ordinary efforts into enduring legacies, because time is the ultimate currency, and how you spend it defines the quality of your life, the magnitude of your impact, and the depth of your fulfillment. Chapter 12: Consistency is the secret ingredient that turns small, repeated actions into extraordinary results, the quiet force that builds habits, shapes character, and compounds efforts over time. Because without consistency, even the best strategies, the clearest plans, and the strongest intentions remain incomplete, scattered, and ineffective. And it is through consistent action that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is bridged. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about persistence, about showing up every day, even when motivation wanes, even when circumstances are challenging, and even when progress feels invisible, because the cumulative effect of steady effort far outweighs occasional bursts of intensity, followed by long periods of inactivity. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because it is subtle, slow, and often invisible in the moment, yet it is relentless over time, and those who practice it inevitably surpass those who rely solely on talent, luck, or sporadic effort. Consistency builds trust in yourself, in your abilities, and in the process. And it also earns the respect of others, because people notice reliability, commitment, and dependability, even when the results are not immediately obvious. To cultivate consistency, you must create systems, routines, and habits that support your goals, because relying on willpower alone is fragile. Structured approaches remove decision fatigue, reduce resistance, and ensure that actions happen automatically, even on days when your energy is low. Consistency also requires focus, because showing up repeatedly for distractions or low-value activities does not create results, whereas focused, intentional repetition in areas that matter leads to mastery, growth, and meaningful outcomes. One of the most effective ways to build consistency is by starting small and scaling gradually, because attempting too much too soon often leads to burnout and failure, whereas incremental progress builds momentum, confidence, and resilience, creating a virtuous cycle of improvement. Accountability is another powerful tool for consistency. Sharing your goals with others, tracking your prowess, and having a system of feedback ensures that you maintain your commitment, even when internal motivation falters. Consistency is also deeply tied to patience, because results rarely appear overnight, and those who persist steadily, day after day, week after week, and month after month eventually witness breakthroughs that seemed impossible at the outset. Every expert, every successful person, every master in any field owes their accomplishments not just to talent but to the disciplined repetition of small actions over extended periods, because the compounding effect of consistent effort is what produces excellence. Chapter 12 reminds you that every minute of consistent action counts, that even small steps taken consistently are more powerful than massive efforts taken irregularly, and that your minutes, when harnessed with regularity, become the building blocks of your legacy. Consistency also reinforces discipline, focus, and resilience, because it creates a rhythm of action, a pattern of progress, and a mindset that prioritizes long-term results over short-term comfort or distraction. When you are consistent, your life becomes predictable in the best way. It follows a trajectory of growth, learning, and achievement, and obstacles are easier to navigate because your habits carry you through them. In contrast, inconsistency breeds frustration, doubt, and wasted potential. As energy is dissipated, progress stalls, and opportunities are missed, making life feel chaotic and unmanageable. The key to consistency is commitment, the internal agreement with yourself to show up regardless of circumstances, to honor your priorities, and to maintain the standards you set, because the most important victories are often won in silent, repetitive actions that no one else witnesses. To sustain consistency, you must also practice self-compassion, forgiving yourself for occasional slips while refusing to abandon your overall path. Because perfection is not the goal, persistence is, and every small act of getting back on track reinforces the strength of habit. Consistency multiplies time, effort, and results, because repeated actions compound like interest in a bank account. Small deposits of effort, day after day, grow into monumental achievements, and even minutes that seem insignificant at first can produce profound outcomes when repeated reliably. Chapter 12 encourages you to embrace the power of showing up, of taking daily action, and of committing to a path that may feel slow but is unstoppable, because over time, the cumulative effect of consistency transforms your life, your habits, and your future. When you make every minute count with consistency, you ensure that no time is wasted, no effort is lost, and every choice contributes to the life you envision, creating a momentum that carries you steadily toward your goals and dreams, and turning ordinary moments into extraordinary achievements. Chapter 13 Mindset is the invisible force that shapes your perception, determines your actions, and ultimately decides the trajectory of your life. Because how you think about yourself, your circumstances, and your possibilities, it's the choices you make and the results you achieve. And nothing can override the power of a focused, positive, and growth-oriented mindset. A strong mindset allows you to view challenges as opportunities, failures as lessons, and setbacks as temporary obstacles rather than permanent defeats. Because the way you interpret experiences determines whether you are empowered or paralyzed by them. Those with a growth mindset understand that talent, intelligence, and skill are not fixed traits but qualities that can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. And this understanding transforms the way they approach every task, every relationship, and every goal. Conversely, a fixed mindset traps people in limitations, causing them to avoid risk, fear failure, and settle for mediocrity, because they believe their abilities are static and that effort will not change their outcomes, which leads to wasted time, unfulfilled potential, and regret. Cultivating a strong mindset begins with self-awareness, recognizing the internal dialogue that guides your actions, noticing negative or limiting thoughts, and deliberately replacing them with empowering beliefs that align with your goals and values. Mindset is also strengthened by perspective, the ability to step back and see situations in context, to understand that temporary setbacks are not indicators of permanent failure, and that challenges are essential for growth and resilience. Your mindset affects your minutes, because it shapes how you approach each moment, whether you engage fully with purpose or drift passively through distraction, procrastination, and self-doubt. A positive, determined mindset allows you to take consistent action, focus deeply, persevere through adversity, and maintain motivation even when the journey is difficult or the results are slow to appear. Mindset is also about responsibility, taking ownership of your life and your choices, because blaming circumstances, other people, or luck only reinforces a sense of helplessness, whereas recognizing that your decisions shape your destiny empowers you to act decisively and make every minute count. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate mindset is through deliberate practice. Training your thoughts, focusing on solutions rather than problems, visualizing success, and affirming your ability to overcome obstacles, because the mind responds to repeated patterns of thinking and internalizes them into behavior. Mindset also thrives on curiosity, openness, and continuous learning, because those who see challenges as opportunities to grow are better equipped to adapt, innovate, and navigate complexity, which maximizes the value of every moment and ensures that time is spent productively. Gratitude is another essential element, because recognizing what you already have shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to action, and from fear to confidence, creating a mindset that attracts opportunity rather than repelling it. Mindset shapes resilience, because those with a strong mental framework do not crumble under pressure, they endure, adapt, and persist, turning obstacles into stepping stones and setbacks into springboards for growth. It also shapes discipline, because the way you think about effort, delayed gratification, and long-term goals influences whether you follow through consistently or give in to distraction. Chapter 13 reminds you that your mindset is not a static trait, but a skill you can cultivate, refine, and strengthen over time, and that by intentionally directing your thoughts, you create a mental environment that supports achievement, focus, and personal growth. Every minute of life is filtered through your mindset, determining whether it is wasted or invested, whether challenges paralyze you or propel you forward, and whether you live reactively or proactively. The power of mindset is evident in every successful individual. It is the quiet engine behind focus, resilience, discipline, consistency, and every other principle that makes every minute work for you, because no strategy, system, or skill can overcome a mind that believes it is powerless or limited. By cultivating a mindset of growth, optimism, and possibility, you unlock the ability to approach each day with intention, to see opportunity in adversity, to persist when others quit, and to make deliberate choices that align with your vision, turning ordinary moments into extraordinary achievements. Chapter 13 is your guide to mastering the lens through which you experience life, teaching you that your thoughts are not just reflections of reality, but powerful tools that shape reality, and that by controlling your mindset, you control the value of every minute, the direction of your actions, and the legacy you build. Chapter 14, Goal Setting, is the compass that directs your actions, the blueprint that transforms vision into reality, and the essential framework that allows every minute to be purposeful and productive. Because without clear goals, even the busiest life can feel aimless, scattered, and unfulfilled, and every hour risks being wasted on tasks that do not align with your deepest ambitions. Setting effective goals begins with clarity, understanding exactly what you want to achieve and why, because vague or superficial desires lack the power to motivate sustained effort, whereas precise, meaningful objectives create focus, energy, and commitment that carry you through obstacles and challenges. Goals must also be actionable, broken down into measurable steps that can be tracked, evaluated, and adjusted, because long-term ambitions often feel overwhelming unless they are translated into concrete actions that can be taken daily, hourly, and even minute by minute. Time-bound goals are especially powerful because a deadline creates urgency, discipline, and momentum, ensuring that procrastination and indecision do not steal your precious minutes, and giving you a clear framework for measuring progress and celebrating milestones along the way. Goals should be aligned with your values, because working towards something that is not personally meaningful quickly drains motivation, while pursuing objectives that resonate with your purpose fuels energy, resilience, and a sense of fulfillment, turning challenges into opportunities and setbacks into lessons. Writing down your goals is a critical practice because the act of recording crystallizes intentions, solidifies commitment, and provides a reference point to guide decisions, reminding you daily of where you are heading and why your efforts matter. Reviewing and revising goals regularly is also essential because life changes, priorities shift, and circumstances evolve, and a dynamic approach ensures that your actions remain relevant, focused, and impactful. Goal setting is not about rigid adherence or obsession with outcomes. It is about creating direction, clarity, and intentionality so that every minute you invest moves you closer to the life you envision. To achieve goals effectively, you must combine them with action, because dreams remain abstract without the consistent application of effort, and even the most brilliant goals cannot succeed without a strategy, persistence, and execution. Goals provide motivation during difficult moments because they anchor your mind to a larger purpose, reminding you that temporary discomfort, failure, or challenge is part of a journey towards something greater. They also help you prioritize, allowing you to distinguish between what is essential and what is trivial, preventing your attention and energy from being dissipated by distractions, busy work, or non-essential tasks that consume time without creating meaningful results. The process of setting and achieving goals also strengthens resilience, discipline, focus, and consistency because the pursuit requires adapting to obstacles, maintaining steady effort, concentrating on what matters most, and repeatedly showing up even when progress seems slow or invisible. Chapter 14 reminds you that goal setting is not a one-time activity, but a continual practice, a habit of clarity, intention, and reflection, and that by consistently defining, refining, and pursuing your objectives, you make every minute purposeful, every action strategic, and every outcome achievable. Effective goal setting involves balancing ambition with realism, dreaming boldly while planning methodically, and holding yourself accountable for both effort and results, because success is not determined by desire alone, but by the ability to transform intentions into measurable progress. When you approach life with clearly defined goals, you create a lens through which you evaluate opportunities, make decisions, and allocate your time, ensuring that your minutes are spent in alignment with your vision, rather than lost in reaction, distraction, or indecision. Goals are also a source of inspiration, providing daily reminders of the life you are building, igniting motivation when energy wanes, and giving structure to every choice you make, because they turn abstract ambition into tangible direction and purposeful action. The most successful people do not achieve greatness by chance. They achieve it through disciplined goal setting, deliberate planning, and relentless execution. And the same principles are available to anyone willing to define their objectives, commit to them fully, and act consistently. Chapter 14 teaches that goal setting is the key to unlocking potential, multiplying the value of each minute, and transforming ordinary days into meaningful progress. Because when you know exactly where you are going, every choice becomes easier, every effort becomes more powerful, and every minute becomes a building block of the life you desire, guiding you steadily toward achievement, fulfillment, and lasting impact. Chapter 15. Reflection is the powerful practice of pausing to evaluate your actions, your choices, and your progress, allowing you to gain clarity, learn from experience, and adjust your path to ensure that every minute of life contributes meaningfully to your goals, your growth, and your purpose. Because without reflection, even the busiest life can become a cycle of activity without insight, motion without direction, and effort without progress. Reflection requires honesty, the courage to examine not only what went well, but also what went wrong, acknowledging mistakes, missteps, and inefficiencies without judgment or excuse, and using those observations to make better decisions moving forward. It is in reflection that patterns emerge, habits are understood, and the true value of time is revealed, because when you take the time to consider how you spend your minutes, you gain the wisdom to invest them more effectively, to focus on what matters, and to eliminate what does not. Reflection is not merely about looking back, it is about connecting the past to the future, using lessons learned to shape strategy, improve consistency, refine focus, and strengthen discipline, creating a cycle in which each experience informs the next, magnifying growth and accelerating achievement. It involves asking critical questions. Did I use my time wisely today? Did my actions align with my goals? Did I honor my priorities? What could I have done differently to maximize results? By answering these questions regularly, you cultivate a mindset of accountability, responsibility, and continuous improvement, and you turn experience into knowledge and knowledge into action. Reflection also enhances resilience, because by reviewing challenges and setbacks with an analytical mind, you discover strategies that work, understand sources of failure, and recognize your capacity to overcome obstacles, which builds confidence and prepares you for future difficulties. Journaling, self-assessment, and deliberate contemplation are tools of reflection that make abstract insights concrete. And when used consistently, they transform small observations into actionable strategies that improve efficiency, focus, and productivity. Reflection is also a reminder of gratitude, because looking back allows you to recognize progress, celebrate wins, and appreciate moments that might otherwise go unnoticed, reinforcing motivation and the value of persistent effort. Chapter 15 emphasizes that reflection should be structured and regular. Without intentional pauses, life slips by unexamined, and valuable lessons remain hidden in the noise of business. It teaches that the act of stepping back to evaluate creates perspective, allowing you to separate what is urgent from what is important, what is fleeting from what is lasting, and what truly deserves your attention from what merely demands it. Reflection is the connection point between action and improvement, ensuring that your minutes are not only spent but also learned from, because the best decisions are informed by experience, and the most productive actions are guided by insight. It also strengthens focus and discipline by providing feedback loops that reinforce what works and correct what does not, creating a continuous cycle of refinement and growth. Without reflection, success can be accidental, inconsistent, and unsustainable. With reflection, it becomes deliberate, consistent, and scalable, because you are no longer acting blindly, but acting with insight, foresight, and purpose. Reflection deepens mindfulness because it trains you to observe yourself and your environment, to notice patterns, emotions, and triggers, and to respond consciously rather than react impulsively, turning everyday actions into intentional steps toward mastery. It also enhances goal attainment, because regularly evaluating progress allows you to adjust timelines, reallocate resources, and refine strategies, ensuring that each effort contributes maximally to the objectives you value most. Chapter 15 teaches that reflection is not a luxury but a necessity, a practice that transforms ordinary minutes into lessons, ordinary experiences into insights, and ordinary effort into strategic advantage. And when performed consistently, it amplifies every other principle in this book: focus, discipline, resilience, consistency, mindset, and time management. Because insight guides action, and action guided by insight produces results. Reflection ensures that life does not pass unnoticed, that learning accumulates, and that every minute, whether challenging or easy, contributes to growth, understanding, and achievement. By making reflection a daily habit, you create a cycle in which experience informs wisdom. Wisdom guides decisions, and decisions generate results, ensuring that every choice, every action, and every minute works for you, culminating in a life of purpose, progress, and fulfillment. Chapter 15 is your final reminder that while time cannot be reclaimed, insight can be gained, and when reflection becomes your practice, every minute, past and present, becomes a tool to build the future you desire, making your life not only productive but meaningful, intentional, and extraordinary.